A strat hack is a fabulous way to help address a client challenge where the solution is non-obvious. We help them to break that problem down into its component parts, working with teams in a very creative and dynamic way through a day to come out with some different, inspiring, compelling ideas that they can then subsequently qualify, reflect on, and further develop. So the one we've just done with National Grid involves a really wicked problem in a way, and it's one that perhaps only National Grid would instinctively think of. So well done them. So they came to us with an issue, which is, wow, we have all this data on the carbon intensity of electricity in the grid at any one stage. And they said, isn't it strange that our laptops, which have batteries in them, don't take account of that carbon intensity according to whether they're taking energy from the mains or whether they're drawing down the battery. And they just thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if they did? So our client, in fact, worked initially to bring together an ecosystem of players. They brought together Microsoft and Dell, who were partners of theirs, but also then with our help, we brought in some additional players such as circular computing, for example, but also NextThink. And we worked together with them to then pull together a response that only that ecosystem of players could possibly address. No one of us could solve that problem. So we needed National Grid's data. In fact, it's now through an organization called NISO that used to be part of National Grid. They have the data. Microsoft and Dell have both the software and indeed the hardware that needs to be impacted to make this possible. Circular computing enable the recycling of laptops, including batteries. And NextThink enable, for example, dashboarding of data to help users understand their behavior and the impact of it. So it's bringing all those together, you end up with something powerful. And then enabled by Atos, we brought our data scientists and dev team to play. And very quickly, they were able to show practically how this problem can be solved with some very specific pieces of code, algorithms that they built, which gave everybody the feeling of this problem can be solved, but also started to help us see in a very tangible way some of the hurdles that we would need to overcome to implement whatever ideas came out of the event. So I'll give you just two examples. One is in Dell laptops, as it happens. There is an API to the battery, but it's a read-only API. So we can read data from the battery, but we cannot write to it. And Dell has done that for a very good reason, that you need to safeguard the battery. They do not want somebody taking over the battery and, for example, overheating it intentionally, or maybe stopping it working. Or in worst case, blowing the battery up, which you could do if you overheated it to an extreme. So you can see why they do that. It's not a bad thing to have done, but if we're going to get our service working, we need to find a way to break into that safely. So that's one kind of challenge. Another kind of challenge is, for example, within Atos, with our IT team, understandably, they are guided every day to protect the integrity of our environment. We are a business that works for many clients whose businesses are very sensitive, and we're part of their supply chain. So it's really important that our environment is secure and protected. So as a primary role with our IT team, they know that they need to protect and assure that every day, and quite right too. So when we come to them with ideas or maybe early stage developments for applications, so for example, to connect into our Microsoft Outlook environment in Atos to enable the battery to be turned on or off, not just according to carbon intensity of data in the grid, but also your work today. So if you're going out to a client or you're presenting externally, you'll want your laptop to work, and be assured you want us to have consumed your battery, because it's there to decarbonize the grid. It's there also primarily to support you in your work. So it's really important that that connection is made. Anyway, so our IT team initially say, probably not. So we have to work with them closely to ensure whatever we put in place does not compromise our environment. So those are just two examples of trouble, if you see what I mean, that requires careful downstream work. that becomes apparent only when you get into the nuts and bolts of doing it for real.